Hey everyone, the title of this story is What Have You Done? Yes, and you will see why. As you can see, this is an army story. This one was during training off on the east coast of Canada in a province called New Brunswick. And this one, it was the final training course before I became an actual officer. And in this training course, we were rolling around in these vehicles called a LAV, light armored vehicle, it stands for. It's not very light, weighs about 20 tons. So it's not very light, but it's called a light armored vehicle. It is a LAV. So my platoon had 4 of these vehicles and about 8 to 10 soldiers in each. And they were everything in one. So we kept our water, our food in there. They've got, as you can see, lots of guns and things like that. And a lot of communications equipment, and very self-sufficient vehicles. And on that course, we were training to become mechanized platoon commanders. So commanding a platoon when your platoon is inside these vehicles. So we would be doing, on this 1 week that this story took place during, we would be rolling around in these vehicles over land, kind of like this, for all day long. And then at night we would be on foot and we would be walking through the woods off, kind of trying to find these enemy soldiers, these for training purposes, to get them and stage a sort of attack, and kind of do separate missions at nighttime. We would hope for like an hour or 2 of sleep each night, but we didn't always get that. So we tried what we could, though. Every night was a new night. We thought we could like accomplish the missions assigned to us, and maybe we'd be back in time to get an hour or maybe even 2 hours of sleep. So it was another soldier, another officer in training. I'll call him O'Malley. And it was his turn to be in charge of a series of attacks. Really, things weren't going too well, so he was tasked with being the nighttime patrol commander as well. And that patrol, it didn't go very well either. So he kept on having to do these leadership roles again and again to see if he would pass. And so we went on another patrol yet again, and it didn't go that well. I can't remember. I don't think we even found the bad guys, for example. And we just did like hours and hours of walking for not finding anything. And we got soaked in the process, going through swamps and things like that. And eventually we got back, and O'Malley got torn apart, figuratively, by the instructors. The instructors were particularly, you could call them mean. One seemed to be an evil individual. It is often part of the course in order to make it a difficult course. This was a captain at the time. He seemed to have a particular disliking towards O'Malley. We'll just call him boss, okay? And so this boss would frequently tear apart O'Malley in front of the rest of us, and just give him these public shouts and things like that, and telling him how worthless he was. So we had to watch this for a while, but something this time changed in O'Malley. This time, O'Malley thought to himself, you know what? I can't do anything right. O'Malley had kind of enough. He thought, no matter how much effort I put into this, no matter how much planning happens, no matter how set for success I seem to be, the plan always seems to go awry. It seems to fail. So why even, I'm tired of hearing this boss constantly talk me down and embarrass me in front of the rest of the platoon. You know what? We're going to get to sleep no matter how we manage to do it. So O'Malley came up with this plan on his own, while he was just being berated by this boss about how bad of an officer that he was, and the rest of us just kept having to watch and listen to this. O'Malley concocted a plan, and he thought about it. He thought, you know what? They're never going to give us sleep this way, and it doesn't matter how I perform. So maybe we can just take the sleep. So he thinks about it and he stages his plan. And the plan is this. Well, he's gotten tasked with that. The next task is to create a type of defensive formation where we're going to move to a new area in these vehicles. It's the middle of the night, keep in mind. It's like 3 in the morning, maybe 4 in the morning. We're going to move to a new location, and then we're going to plan a defensive position. Well, O'Malley will. And then we're going to move the vehicles into the bush and hide them in trees and such, kind of like mow down some trees, push them with these vehicles, hide them in a defensive formation, and see if it's a defendable area and set up all the different precursors like that. Now that's what he's supposed to do. And he is supposed to wait for the instructors, for example, and they will supervise it all, and then they'll give us feedback. And if things have gone well, then maybe they'll give us a half an hour left or something like that. But O'Malley decides, no, we're not going to wait. So right the moment after he gets told, okay, your next task is to set up this defensive formation at this location. He says, yep, roger that, sir. And he gets the other section commanders together, the other vehicle commanders, and he says, mount up your people as fast as you can. We all jump in. He says, we're going here, follow me. And we book it out of there. We just zoom out of there. And the instructors, you can see them. We look back, and I was one of these commanders. We look back, and so I have a radio. I can hear what's happening on the radio, and I can hear the intercom and things like that. I'm commanding my vehicle. I'm taking my section off, just as O'Malley had said to do. And we're ripping out of there. And the instructors, I look back, the instructors are just like running towards the vehicles. They don't know how. They didn't expect us to be going this fast. O'Malley's supposed to be doing the planning process. He's supposed to be going through, figuring out his orders and getting things ready. Instead, they weren't ready for us just to take off out of there. And that's part of O'Malley's plan. His plan is to go rip off down the road. And that's exactly what we do. So we take on off. We leave the instructors behind in the dust. They can't see anything. They're way behind. We rip off down the road. We're going overland, through bushes and all these things. And we get to the new position where we're supposed to go. And we get to this area, and O'Malley comes across the radio, which he had assigned this new radio frequency of what's going to happen. Or he had even just told us, but the instructors didn't know. He had told just the section commanders, we're going there. We're just going to book it into the bush. We're going to hide the vehicles. And then I'm going to tell them that the position is set, that we've succeeded. We'll just bluff it. And they won't even be able to find us. So that's what we do. We go flying off. The instructors are still way behind us. We lose track of them. We can't see any headlights or anything like that in the darkness. We get to the new spot. There's the forest. It's kind of down to this area. And I did one of the sections, I was one of the vehicles here. I go off to my spot, and one by one, each vehicle's like into the forest, into the forest, into the forest. And we hide them all up, and we turn off the lights. We shut down the vehicles so they can't see us. There's no lights or anything like that. We shut them all off, and we've hidden them. We've rammed our way into the forest and hidden all these 20-ton vehicles. We're going to try to get away with it. Now we will, and some guys, as soon as they were even in the vehicle, they started to go to sleep. Let alone once we shut off all the power, everyone went to sleep, because I knew sleep is only fleeting, right? You have 15 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Who knows what's going to happen next? We were hoping we're going to sleep for 2 hours or something like that. Ram into the forest. And so the only thing left on, it's all dark. My whole section goes to sleep. But I was in charge of the vehicle, so I still have the radio on, the headset on. I'm right up in this compartment up here, the crew commander and gunner's hatch. Everyone else is down in the back over here, and they're sleeping. Same thing with the driver. I tell the driver, yep, go ahead and go to sleep. Get as much as you can. And my gunner just goes against the sights and just gets some sleep. But in my vehicle, I listen to the radio. And so there's silence. And then O'Malley comes across the radio. And they had numbers or different codes attached to them. But I'll just say that the instructor, will call him boss, and we'll call O'Malley. And this is what comes across the radio. Boss, this is O'Malley. Defensive position set. Over. So O'Malley claims to the boss that we have done it. We have barged our way into this new position and we're fully set. We're ready to go. It's time to go to bed. All tasks complete. And there's a silence. And if you know, if you haven't seen my video about sinking a tank, well, I'll pop something up down here now for a link to that one. That if there's silence on the radio during this portion and the boss isn't saying anything, it's probably a bad thing. So there's this silence. Is he going to buy it? I'm listening. I've got my mouth open. I'm alone awake in my vehicle here in the darkness. I'm thinking, is the boss going to buy it? Is he going to believe that we succeeded? And so comes across the radio finally. O'Malley, this is boss. What have you done? Ooh, it was chilling. It was like Frankenstein had said this. It was a deep, kind of chilling voice that we heard. And we knew it. With that, we knew O'Malley had not gotten away with it. We had not gotten away with it. So I was like, oh, and I popped up out of my hatch, out of the top up here. Okay, just like here, you can actually see a bit of me there. I popped up like that. And I looked over towards O'Malley's vehicle, which was back up on the hill a little bit. And what do I see? Well, O'Malley had figured out, right? He had heard that he had not gotten away with it, and he was going to be in deep trouble. So he didn't know how, but the instructors had managed to keep sight of us, and they had managed to see what a poor job we had done in setting this defensive position. After all, they had turned off all their lights and they had watched this mishmash. And so that's what he gets. What have you done? And so I look over towards O'Malley's vehicle back up in the darkness. And what do I see? Back here, I see the back ramp go. And O'Malley literally just starts running for his life. He goes out of this back ramp and starts running off to basically start trying to get away from this evil boss coming after him. He's got nowhere to go. It's a huge training area. We're off in the bush. There's nowhere to go. And sure enough, the kind of like lights get turned on. O'Malley gets brought in. We all get ordered, like all vehicles, empty out your crew and meet in the center field behind you. Okay, and sure enough, that's what we have to do. We all head off. We get all assembled up, and what do you know? What's going to happen? Yeah, we get reamed out, torn apart once more. But this boss finally said, I want to punish you even more right now, but I have to give you 1 hour of sleep, okay? Because it's been like however many days without any sleep. So I have to give you 1 hour. So take your hour, but we'll see after that, okay? So we got, even though we failed, we just went back. We're kind of like, O'Malley was just kind of like he knew he was in for it. And we got 1 hour of sleep and did the whole thing basically over again the next day. And you know what? O'Malley had other tries, for example, and they didn't go so well on some of those others. And I have some stories about those ones, some really funny times as well of those ones. But O'Malley ended up making it through eventually with many of us as well, and ended up being a great officer himself in the future. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time.